Because it's very natural. So Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu here is giving all credit to whatever he has to his devotees. Now you may say that that is just his way of teaching us that we should never be proud and we should give all credit to others for whatever we are able to do. It's the safe way. Because this ahankar, or this false ego, hardens the heart. A hard heart cannot experience spiritual affection. Humility softens the heart. Ahankar, false ego, hardens the heart and makes it unable to assimilate and digest the mercy of the Lord, even when it comes. Yes? You can give good medicine, but if you can't digest it, it just goes in one side and comes out the other. Association is very important. It's like that story that Prabhupada told of the man who at night ate a delicious, sumptuous gulab jamun. And the next morning, he went to the bank of the river and responded to nature, and out came stool. Yes? And it was really disgusting. So he just, he looked at his own stool and was disgusted. So the stool spoke to him. This is an analogy. This is not some lila in the scriptures. It is an analogy that Prabhupada spoke. So the stool spoke to him. He said, "Why are you looking at me with such disgust?" So it's obvious why I'm looking at you with such disgust. Your smell, your sight, everything about you is disgusting. He says, "Well, you think I'm disgusting? Last night, I was a sweet, beautiful, delicious gulab jamun. And because of one night's association with you, look at what I have become." So this is a principle. You become like what you associate with. So Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he is giving all credit for whatever goodness he has to his devotees. Not only to teach us the principle of humility and how to access mercy through that humility, but also he's actually feeling that way. It's the nature of love. Now you may think this is inconceivable. How can the Almighty Lord think that way? But in exchanges of love, that is the reality. Krishna becomes dependent on his devotee's love, and the devotee is totally dependent on Krishna's love. It is an exchange. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Balabhavat, "I'm just an unworthy Mayavadi sannyasi. Whatever I know about devotional service is by the mercy of the devotees." And then with great, great enthusiasm, he began to glorify his devotees. He said, Advaitacharya is the Supreme Lord's incarnation. He's the very personification of devotion. He's very, very deeply learned in all the scriptures and their conclusions. And he's merciful, even to the most fallen, even to the malechas and yavanas, the most sinful classes of society. He's freely giving loving devotional service to the Lord. I have become purified by my association with Advaitacharya. And Nityananda Prabhu, the Avadut, he is directly the Lord himself. Nityananda Prabhu is always intoxicated with ecstatic love of God. That is why he is called Avadut. He is not concerned with mundane conventions of the society. He simply, freely, with no restrictions, just gives love of God and expresses love of God. He's the very ocean of spiritual love. I have learned what it means to love God from Nityananda Prabhu. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He has mastered all the 6 philosophical theses. He has studied and evaluated all the scriptures. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is the very embodiment of pure devotion. And therefore he is fit to be the spiritual master of the entire world. From Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I have learned that the essence of all scriptures, the essence of all mystic yogic processes is bhakti, prema, pure unalloyed love for Krishna. And from Ramananda Rai, I have learned that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that spontaneous love is the highest platform of self-realization. He has taught me that in Vrindavan, the devotees of the Lord have transcended the Lord's Aishwarya, or opulences, and they enter into intimate, loving relationships with him. Some serve Krishna in neutrality, some as a servant, others as a friend, Sakya-ras. Devotees serve Krishna in Vatsalya-ras, just like a parent loves and serves a child, and some in Madhurya-ras, the conjugal love of lover and lover. In this way, Ramananda Rai has taught me the intimacies of the love of Vrindavan. How Krishna is carrying his friends on his shoulders. They're playing games, and the loser has to carry the winner on shoulders. And who is the loser? Krishna. How wonderful. Is it possible for Bhagavan to lose? It is his will. We often use the example. A father is wrestling with his little 5-year-old child. The child says, "Father, I want to wrestle you." And the father says, "Yes, let us wrestle." Now actually, the father could just pick up that child with one hand, throw him on the ground, stomp him with his foot, and crush him to death within 20 seconds. Yes? He has that power. But is that going to give the child happiness? And is the father going to enjoy doing that? So he doesn't want to exert his power. He wants to express his intimacy. Therefore, he's playing with the child, and the child jumps on the father, and the father falls down. Ah! And then the child gets on top of him and starts doing all different, and the father's going, I give up, stop, I can't tolerate it, you win. And then the child is telling the family members, I beat up father. And the father's smiling and laughing, and the child's smiling and laughing. That's love. So Krishna loses just to give pleasure to his devotees. And giving pleasure to his devotee is his pleasure. So he's showing the whole world that he's the loser by carrying his devotees on his shoulders. Harivo. And Yashoda Mai, she's binding Krishna with ropes, and Krishna is apparently helplessly bound by her love. And how the gopis conquer Krishna by their love. He said, I have learned the ecstasies of the love of Vrindavan from Ramananda Rai. And from Swarup Damodar, I have learned the highest love of Vrindavan, the love of gopis and Sri Radharani, which is absolutely not slightly even tinged with material lust. It is pure, unalloyed, selfless love. The gopis of Vrindavan, they gave up everything, their social status, their security, for the pleasure of Krishna. We know the story. Krishna had headache. He wanted the dust of the feet of devotees. And every devotee that was approached by Narada, they would not give. Taking the dust of our feet and putting it on the head of God, we will go to hell. But immediately gopis collected as much dust as they could and said, quickly, quickly, bring it, bring it. And Narada Muni asked, what are you saying? Do you know what will happen if I take the dust of your feet and put it on Krishna's head? The gopi said, of course we know. Hell for eternity. Is that what you want? Yes. Now who wants love? Who wants hell for eternity? The gopis replied, if we have to go to hell for the rest of eternity and suffer, and by doing so we give Krishna one moment of happiness, that will be our greatest attainment in life. That is love. Inconceivable, but that is the love of the gopis. So Krishna, he is telling gopis that your love for me is so deep. Your surrender and selfless love is so pure that I cannot repay you with everything I have in an entire lifetime of Brahma. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna is the proprietor of everything that exists. And Krishna is saying, with everything I have, all the property in all the universes of the entire cosmic manifestation, and all the property of all the different planets in the spiritual world and the spiritual sky itself, with everything I have, I cannot even begin to repay you for your love for me in a life of Brahma. Therefore, Krishna tells gopis, let your own glorious deeds be the compensation. This, he says, I have learned from Swarup Damodar Goswami. When Uddhava went to Vrindavan, he's a royal prince, and he saw these simple gopis. To an ordinary person's eyes, the gopis are just common girls performing very, very simple menial tasks. What are their tasks? They're not sitting on thrones. They're not ruling governments. They're not performing mystic potencies and miracles. They're milking cows and churning butter and cleaning houses, Haribo, and washing pots and cooking That's quite ordinary. And here is the prince, one of the royal princes, best friend of Krishna in Mathura. And he's praying. He's praying. He doesn't want elevation to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. He doesn't want liberation from all material sufferings. He's willing to give up his high post in Dwarka, living in such royalty. He's willing even to give up his personal friendship with Krishna. And he's longing, performing austerities and praying for what? To be a creeper, a shrub, or even a little blade of grass in Vrindavan. Why? Because the gopis may step on his head with their feet. This is the nature of love. This is his humility. And this is to the extent the great Uddhava treasures and appreciates the elevated position of these little cowherd girls. He came to Vrindavan in a royal chariot with beautiful regal garments. He did not want to embarrass gopis by touching their feet. So he just wanted to live forever as a blade of grass, so they step on top of him. This is the emotions of one who is in ecstasy. Lord Chaitanya said, this I learned from Swarup Damodar Goswami. And from Haridas Thakur, I learned the glories of the holy name. Lord Chaitanya told Balabhabata that Haridas Thakur chants Krishna's names 300,000 times every day without fail. Now 16 rounds is approximately 25,000 names of Krishna. Yes? If you chant 16 rounds 4 times in one day, that's 64 rounds, and that equals 100,000 names. So Haridas Thakur is minimum, just to start the day, he's chanting 192 plus rounds. Yes? Every day. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Constantly chanting God's names. You cannot do that artificially. It wasn't that Haridas Thakur was Krishna, Krishna, Ram Ram. It wasn't just struggling. I want to eat. I want to watch something. I want to do something. I want to talk, gossip with someone, but I just have to finish my rounds first. It wasn't like that. Haridas Thakur was tasting nectar with every syllable. It describes in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, when he would be chanting the names of the Lord, there would be tears constantly flowing from his eyes. His hairs were standing on end. His limbs were trembling. Anyone who even saw him chanting the holy names would become astounded. Lord Chaitanya gave benediction to Haridas Thakur. Whoever hears your chanting, whoever sees you, or even whoever thinks of you with faith, will get love of Krishna. Haribo. That was his power. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining, I have learned the glories of the chanting of Krishna's holy names from Haridas Thakur. Now this is wonderful, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar. He has descended to establish the chanting of the holy names, and yet he's giving all credit to someone else. And then he delineates so many other devotees. Acharya, I have learned, he said, the glories of the holy name. I have learned the treasure of pure devotion from such devotees as Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Gadadhar Pandit, Jagadananda Pandit, Shankar Pandit, Damodar Pandit, Vakreshwar Pandit, Murari Gupta. They have all taught me everything I know. On another occasion, Lord Caitanya gave all credit to his mother. Here he is, the crest jewel of all sannyasis living in Jagannath Puri, and he's telling that whatever devotion I have is only what I learned from my mother. So after glorifying these devotees with so much enthusiasm, Balabhabata, he said to the Lord, where can I meet these devotees? Is there any possible way I can see them? Do you know why Lord Caitanya said those things? Because he scented within the heart of Balabhabata some pride. It's very, very difficult to be famous and learned and not be proud. He was such an incredible scholar with such powerful memory. But Lord Caitanya scented that there was a trace of pride in his heart. He was thinking, I'm a learned scholar, and he was also thinking, I'm a great devotee. Now, how do you know someone's a great devotee? One of the most obvious symptoms is they do not think that they're great devotees. If someone thinks they're great, they're small. If someone thinks they're small in the eyes of God, they are great. Now, you shouldn't be small. You should think you're small. A devotee should not be fallen, but should think themselves fallen. How is that possible? It is natural, because the more you understand Krishna and you realize and you experience and you taste the magnanimous, supreme love, mercy, and opulence of Krishna, you realize how little and small you are, and you're humbled by that. This is actually a symptom of a person who actually is experiencing God, is they become infinitely humble. And to the degree a person is falsely proud and thinks I'm great, that means they're really not experiencing God. So Lord Caitanya wanted to teach the world through Balabhabata. Lord Balabhabata, knowing so much knowledge, had a little pride, just a trace of pride, and Lord Caitanya wanted to remove it. So he started praising all the other devotees. And Balabhabata said, I want to meet them. How could I meet them? Where are they? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, it just so happens they have all come from Bengal, from various parts of Orissa and other parts of the country, and they're all here in Jagannath Puri to celebrate Rath Yatra of Jagannath. I will introduce you to all of them. So Balabhabata arranged prasad for all the associates of Lord Caitanya. They were all gathered together. When Balabhabata came in the presence of all these devotees who were so bright and so effulgent with detachment and spiritual realization, he felt himself to be very, very, very small. It said he felt like a little duck in a flock of swans. Hare Krishna. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced all of them. And Balabhabata, such a cultured person as he was, went to each and every devotee and fell at their feet and humbled himself. And then he brought the Mahaprasad of Jagannath and fed everyone sumptuously. Should I continue? Now Balabhabata one day came to Lord Chaitanya and said, I have written a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. I would like to read it to you. And Lord Chaitanya, he was a master of the science of Srimad Bhagavatam. But he wanted to humble Balabhabata. So he said, I don't know what is Srimad Bhagavatam. I only know Krishna's names. So Balabhabata said, oh, well, I have written an entire essay on the names of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya said, I don't care about all of that. All I know is Krishna is Shyam Sundar. He has a beautiful, lustrous complexion like a tamal tree. And he is Yashoda Nandan. He is appearing as a son of Yashoda Mai. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. Bas. So he didn't give Balabhabata a chance to say anything else. And because Lord Chaitanya would not listen to him, none of the other devotees would either. They would all do kirtan and socialize nicely, but they wouldn't listen to what he wanted to read to them. So he was very much in anxiety. He wanted someone to hear. So he was very, very carefully examining all the devotees, and he found one devotee was very humble, gentle, and simple in his disposition. And that devotee's name? Gadadhar Pandit, who is actually Srimati Radharani incarnate. So he went to Gadadhar Pandit, and he said that I must speak my commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam to someone. Nobody else wants to listen to me, but I want to speak it to you. My life will not be happy unless you hear my Bhagavatam explanation. And then he just started speaking it. And Gadadhar Pandit was thinking, I do not want to hear it. Lord Chaitanya doesn't want to hear it. None of the other devotees want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But I don't want to hurt his feelings. He would not stop him. He had such a soft heart. So he just was listening. And every day, Balabhabata would come and recite his Bhagavad commentary. And Gadadhar Pandit would just be thinking, what to do? I don't want to break his heart. I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to disrespect him, but I don't want to hear it either. Sometimes life is like that. Difficult circumstances. So he was thinking in his mind that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya knows the innermost motives of my heart. So he will understand me. But his devotees, I'm very much afraid what they may say. So because he was listening to the Bhagavatam from Balabha, Lord Chaitanya completely neglected Gadadhar Pandit. And other devotees, with love and affection, were criticizing him. This is possible. Sometimes we criticize due to ego, sometimes we criticize due to envy. But they were criticizing out of affection and love. It was actually very sweet, the way they were saying it. But it wasn't very sweet for him to hear it. So some time passed. Meanwhile, Balabhabata was coming to the assembly of devotees to prove his points. But every time he tried to prove his points, he was defeated. And this was really disturbing him. One time he came and said to Advaitacharya, he said, Krishna is the only male. Yes? All jivatmas, all living entities are female by nature. The soul is by nature female and God is the supreme male. Yes? That's what he's explaining. So he said, if the Lord is the supreme husband of every living being, it is not proper culture for, according to our traditions, for the wife to publicly speak the name of her husband. That was the tradition in those days. So why are you chanting loudly the names of Krishna? Hare Krishna. Is that good logic? What do you think? Advaitacharya said, you are speaking this, but Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is present. Let us hear from him what he says. And Balabhabata was thinking, finally I've defeated them. What will they say against this? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very grave. He said, it is the nature of a wife who is chaste and faithful to her husband to follow what the husband wants. And Krishna has instructed every living being to loudly chant his holy names. And this takes precedent to all other of these culture and traditions and social formalities you're speaking. So Balabhabata said, and another day he came. He said, I have made commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam and I have refuted and neglected the commentary of Sridhar Swami. Hare Krishna. Sridhar Swami is the original commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam, who Lord Chaitanya and all others since honor and worship. Lord Chaitanya became very grave. He said, because Swami also means husband. Swami means one who controls the senses, the mind, but it also means, in another context, a husband, Swami. So one who rejects their Swami is a prostitute. So he left. And then, after being defeated so many times, his ego was really being smashed. He was thinking, what's happening? When Lord Chaitanya came to my house in Prayag, he was so affectionate to me. He was so kind and loving to me. But now he neglects me, and all his devotees are defeating me all the time. Why? And he began to contemplate very seriously, and he came to the conclusion, because he loves me, because he's merciful to me, because I have false pride, because I'm trying to put myself forward as being somebody great. I'm trying to put myself forward as somebody who's more learned than them. And because such a heart cannot love God, Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, he's so kind, that he's removing this pride. Now I understand. And the next day he came before Lord Chaitanya and the devotees and fell at their feet with all humility and folded palms. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him. Embraced him. They all wept tears of ecstasy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through this example, wanted to teach the world. Sometimes through material nature, sometimes through environmental circumstances, sometimes through just ordinary common people of society, sometimes through devotees, our own god brothers, our own god sisters, sometimes through the spiritual master, or sometimes through, a bird or an insect. The Lord teaches us how to be humble. How many of you have had malaria? Raise your hands if you've had malaria. Now, in the West, malaria is considered such a disease. In India, it's like a cold. It's like a common cold, getting malaria. Anyways, what is this malaria? You can take someone who has many, many crores of rupees, has a whole physical fitness center in his house, and he's very strong, fit body, great economic power, physical power, has master's degrees in commerce and business management, yes, and may even be the captain of his cricket team. However, one little mosquito bites you. You're knocked out. Not just to the count of 10, but 10 days. Yes? And did you ever see the muscles on the arms of a mosquito? They don't amount to much. Usually in fighting, boxing, or wrestling, things are categorized by weight. Right? It's very difficult for a small person to defeat a big person because just the volume of weight gives tremendous amount of power. Yes? But what is the difference in the weight class between a mosquito and a human being? Can you even weigh a mosquito? It doesn't even register. There's no scale that can register the weight of a mosquito. And here's somebody weighing 280 pounds. That's quite humbling, isn't it? The little mosquito, just one little, you don't even know he's there. And smaller than mosquitoes are these bacterias. Cancer, they're so tiny. Defeated. So yes, through other people, through material energy, through insects. I know some people who really think that they're fearless. And then a little snake comes crawling by. Yes? Do you remember? We were at Ekachakra and everyone's we're taking shelter of Nityananda Prabhu. We're advanced devotees. It's night in the middle of the forest and everyone's sitting there, and then a little snake, everyone jumps up screaming. It's just a little snake. Yes? So the Lord knows how to humble us. And ultimately, time humbles us. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to teach the world. And Balabhabata was eternally grateful because he understood this is mercy. Mercy doesn't simply mean that we get what we want. It means the Lord gives us what we need. And sometimes what we need is very much not at all what we want. Have you ever had that experience? Tatenu kampam susamikshimano bunjanav evatmikritam vipagam. That one who even in difficult circumstances of loss or failure or pain or suffering folds his hands and says, my Lord, I deserve worse. I offer my obeisances with a grateful heart to you. That person will go back to the spiritual world. It doesn't mean we shouldn't try and try again. Devotees cannot be inert, inactive. Devotees should be dynamic in whatever they do and put their heart and soul in making all of their efforts the best it can be. But whatever the result may be, a devotee accepts with a gracious, grateful, and humble heart. So this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught the principle of humility. And now I will begin the class. But it's going to be a short class. So what happened to Gadadhar Pandit? That is the question I'm sure is burning in all of your hearts. Because he was neglected. The Lord and all of his devotees criticized and neglected the poor man. So after Balabhabata was completely liberated and ecstatic and welcomed by the Lord when he had his change of heart, the Lord called for Balabhabata. He sent Swarup Damodar Goswami, Jagadananda Pandit, Govinda and others to bring Gadadhar Pandit to him, because Gadadhar Pandit was afraid to come before him. The Lord was neglecting him. And as they were walking to the Gambhira, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's house, Swarup Damodar Goswami, he asked Gadadhar. He said, why? Why? The Lord neglected you. The Lord criticized you for no good reason. Why didn't you retaliate? Why didn't you try to explain yourself or make some excuse or something? Why you just tolerated it? And Gadadhar Pandit spoke very softly from his heart. Please listen. Within the words of great souls are the key to the treasure of our hearts. Gadadhar Pandit said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is completely independent. He is the topmost omniscient person. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can handle me in any way he pleases. And then he explained how I must tolerate his neglect and bear it upon my head, because he is my Lord. If I were to speak against him, or if I were to even bring up the subject for him, how will it appear if I take a position that it's equal to his? Said that Lord Chaitanya will automatically show his mercy upon me after considering my faults and my attributes. This was his mood. Lord Chaitanya prayed, Ashlisya va padaratam panashtu mam adarshanam maramahatam korotu va yatadata vidatu lampato mat prananatastu se eva naparaha. This is a prayer of love. My dear Lord, if you want, you can embrace me. If you want, you can trample on me. If you want, you can make me broken-hearted by neglecting me. You are free to deal with me in any way you please, because I am your servant unconditionally. This was exemplified by Gadadhar Pandit. How will it look if I speak in such a way that I am taking an equal position to my Lord? I will tolerate whatever he does and bear it upon my head, because I know for sure he will give me his mercy after analyzing my faults and my attributes. Then Gadadhar Pandit came into the home of the Lord and bowed down. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picked him up and bathed him with the tears of his affection. And then he said to Gadadhar Pandit, he said, I tried to put you in anxiety, but no matter how hard I tried, you did not become disturbed. How is this? I tried to test you, but you remain fixed in your simplicity. In this way, you have purchased me. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, explains that the gentleness, the humbleness, and the pureness of Gadadhar Pandit's love can never, ever, ever be properly described. His love is so sweet and so real. But one of the names of Lord Chaitanya is Gadadhar Prananath, that he is the life and soul of Gadadhar. And what was the quality that purchased Lord Chaitanya? That Gadadhar Pandit was simple. He had a simple, non-duplicitous, humble heart, even in testing circumstances. That quality, anyone who manifests it, purchases the Lord. And what does it mean to purchase the Lord? Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Vasudev Dutt, he said, Vasudev Dutt, I am purchased by your simplicity and by your compassion toward others. Therefore, if you like, wherever you want to sell me, I am sold. I am simply yours. People like to become very egoistic because they think that they can gain a lot. Maybe fame, maybe prestige, maybe wealth, maybe power. But through simplicity, we can purchase Krishna. Through simplicity, we can access the power and the grace of Krishna. And that is what each and every sincere person who is aspiring for perfection must carefully make a priority of their lives. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that this sharalata, or simplicity, is the fundamental basic principle for spiritual advancement. You can be a king like Yudhisthira and have a simple heart. You can be a warrior like Arjuna and have a simple heart. You can be a great scholar like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and have a simple heart. You can be a very, very wealthy person in business or landowner, like Buddhimanta Khan or Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was an extraordinarily wealthy person. Or Udaran Dutt. He was a magnificent business person, trading gold, but he had a simple heart. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur is ending his beautiful prayer with this message. Whether you are a sannyasi or brahmachari living in the ashram or living in the jungle, or whether you're a grihasta working dynamically within society according to your occupational duties, it doesn't matter. Just follow in the footsteps of the great souls. Be humble. Have a simple heart. And in this way, Narottam Das Thakur says, I want to associate with you. I want to learn from you. I want to get your blessings. Because only with a simple heart can we take shelter of the Lord's holy names. Srila Prabhupada explained that sometimes a devotee has to be diplomatic. Sometimes devotees like Ramananda Rai have to engage in political affairs. Sometimes devotees in business have to be very, very shrewd to not be cheated, very intelligent to succeed. But that's all external. That's our duty. But internally, in proper association, with proper values, with proper sadhana, we should always very carefully cultivate simplicity of heart. Thank you very much.